Okay. Good morning, evening, whichever time it is for you. I guess anyone can join at any time. We invite all the beings, humans and non-humans. As I said, I mean it's been a while since. Okay, so for the people on the computer, you'll see me looking out of the screen and in front of me. That's not. I'm not ignoring you. I'm just being with the people here, and then I'll come back, and then you'll see me going around. And then sometimes people are gonna join, and I'm gonna let them in. And tonight, this evening, or this morning for most of you on the screen, except those in Australia. What is it? Oh, like noon? Noon, and yeah. I was trying to think. Great. On the other side of the Pacific. And so today we'll... this is another sutta that I really... I'm not going to say that I like. I'm going to say that I found very useful on my path. I found this, that was one of the first ones that I encountered when I went to the Vipassana Center in Montebello in Quebec, and I was starting to read the suttas, and I found this, and it's an elaboration on what is, in real Buddhist vocabulary and jargon, we would say meritorious, or which practices are more valuable or bring us more when we practice them. What is most valuable, what is most important. And so again, it's a really key understanding, and it's helping me on my journey to always prioritize what is most important. When we know what is most important, then we can just do that. And so yeah, it's been a very relevant topic lately. For the time in Sri Lanka recently and arriving back in Canada, it's really interesting. Everywhere that teaching is very relevant, and even though cultural contexts are different, and we can all find a little bit of bright wisdom, little piece of wisdom in there. So I just want to make sure, can everybody hear me okay on the screen?
Yep.
Okay, great. I think it's early for Sri Lankans. They don't want to say too much. Okay, it's okay. I understand. And so this is, in fact, a past life story of the Buddha that he, there are the Jatakas where there's many books with just past life stories of the Buddha, and these books have been technically compiled a bit later, which is a bit different. But this is actually found in the suttas, so it's usually more reliable, I would say. And so here's the Buddha beginning talking with Anathapindika, which is one of the foremost. He is the foremost supporter, male lay supporter of the Buddha and the Sangha at that time. He was the one who gave Jeta's grove, the monastery. And of course, Anathapindika was a very generous person, and the topic starts on generosity, and then we will go into more meditation practice. So once the awakened one lived in Savatthi, in Jeta's grove, at Anathapindika's monastery. At that time, the follower Anathapindika went to the Buddha, paid loving respects, and seated himself before him. Then the teacher asked, "Are alms given in your family, Anathapindika?" My family offers alms, Bhante, but it is made of low quality crushed rice mixed with bran and sour gruel. Anathapindika, whether the offering is crude or refined, those who offer carelessly, without respect, not from their own hand, what is to be thrown away, not realizing that something good will come out of their action, when the result of their offering circles back to them, even though they've given, that's what that means, when they in turn receive the best of food, the best of clothes, the best of vehicles, the best of the five senses and their objects, their minds do not appreciate them. And I thought that was I spent a bit of time on that. It's a really interesting Pali kind of play on the words here. The word, because a person is not, one of the words is Sakkacca, respectful is Sakkacca, with respect or with reverence. Sakkacca is without respect. And then here their minds do not incline, the word that is used is Namati, like chittang Namati. So their minds do not incline to, Bhikkhu Bodhi translates it as enjoying any of these things. I spent quite a bit of time thinking about it because just the framing is a bit kind of strange. It doesn't hit you in a usual way. It's a bit, you have to think about it. But what I think it comes down to is it's not actually talking about the generosity itself here. It's talking about the mental stance, the mental perspective. And so basically for someone who's not regarding, it doesn't matter if it's a gift or if it's whatever it is, but just life in general is just mindlessly without thinking there's any value to this or that. And then when they give, they don't think it's not special or it's not like it doesn't uplift them. I just like this whole bunch, this clump of words, because it's all coming together, right? Like respect, mindfulness, upliftment, care. One of them is actually caring. And so when the mind is not like this for everything, not just generosity, then whenever, even though they do good deeds, whenever it comes back to them, their mind is not able, it's not in a state to be uplifted. It's not in a state to be, to really even enjoy. And here, see, Bhikkhu Bodhi goes further than me on this because he translates it as enjoying, which is not even written in the Pali. So, yeah, points to Bhikkhu Bodhi for that. I was just trying to, I guess, find other ways that it could be interpreted. And yeah, so this opening sequence, for me, what I understand from it is that it's not really about generosity itself. Yes, the generosity is important, but it's more about the mental state behind it. And it's true. It's like when you're forced to give something, it's not that nice, right? Like it's just whatever. It doesn't really make you happy or gladden your mind or anything. You just have to give it, So, but when you actually see the value in it and you see the worth in how it's going to help someone, and then you see it, and the Buddha said when you're giving, you should train that before the gift, the mind is uplifted, like preparing the gift, and then giving, the mind is uplifted, you're happy to give it. And then after, when you think back on it, the mind is uplifted, thinking, wow, that was a good gift, or something like that. So it's not really, I mean, there is a lot of joy that can be derived from giving, but I think it's more talking here about the mental stance, which is very important. Okay, so I'll keep going because their sons and daughters, wives and husbands, helpers, attendants, and workers will not pay attention. They will not listen to what they say, and they will not attend with a caring mind. Why? Because this is the result of actions done carelessly. See, that's why I think it leaves the sphere of just generosity, and it's just more of a broader topic here. Whatever we project into the world, this is what comes back to us. That's basically what this is saying. So if we are careless, if we don't care about, in our actions, then everybody around us will kind of take that. We will suffuse our environment with that, and that will come back to us. And now the opposite. Whether the offering is crude or refined, those who offer thoughtfully, respectfully, from their own hand, what is not to be thrown away, realizing that something good will come out of their action. They're actually enjoying, reveling in that beautiful action. When the result of their offering circles back to them, when they in turn receive the best of food, the best of clothes, of transports, and of the 5 senses and their objects, their minds appreciate them. They're able to enjoy them, like Bhikkhu Bodhi would translate it. Their sons and daughters, wives and husbands, helpers, attendants, and workers will pay proper attention. They will listen to what they say, and they will attend with a caring mind. Why? Because this is the result of actions done thoughtfully. In the past lived a Brahmin named Velāma. And on one occasion he carried out an offering, an extraordinary act of generosity. Do you remember this sutta? Okay. Oh, we got a deer, our friend there. A little baby deer. He offered 84,000 golden bowls filled with silver coins. 84,000 silver bowls filled with golden coins. 84,000 bronze bowls filled with gold nuggets. 84,000 elephants with golden adornments, golden flags, covered over with golden nettings. Now 84,000 again means a lot. That's what that means. 84,000 carriages covered in lion's skin, tiger skin, leopard skin, delicate saffron fabric with golden trinkets, golden flags covered over with golden mesh. There's a few, it's a list, you'll see. 84,000 cows dressed in silk outfits and bronze milking pails. 84,000 couches covered with deep hair fur carpets, white wool coverings, woven coverlets, kadali deer spreads. I don't want to scare our friend. He's still around. With sunshade canopies and crimson cushions on either sides. 84,000 measures of the finest fabrics, the finest linen, the finest silk, the finest wool, the finest cotton. And what to mention of food and drinks and chewables, eatables, lickables, and drinkables, they seem to flow like rivers. So that's obviously a very large amount of many things, golden trinkets, and a lot of food. It's a very beautiful, huge, it's like a festival almost, right? And it's a very big material offering. And here's the twist in the plot. One might think that Velāma was a myth or someone unrelated, but this is not how it should be understood. At that time, I was the Brahmin Velāma, and it was me who made this extraordinary offering. And again, this is another place where it requires a bit of explanation if you talk to people who don't know anything about the Buddha's teaching and the way that it's, the vocabulary of it, the way that it's phrased. And then he says, but there was nobody truly worthy of offering. And so a lot of people, if I read this like that and they don't know, not being worthy is not a really nice thing to say to people. So it's, we really have to understand this as in its context where the worthy people, that was a name for the people who had understood the Dhamma, the teachings, to a certain extent, that they were good recipients for it. Really, that's what it, more accurately, that's how it could be said. But the usual classical translation is worthy. And it can be a problem sometimes for people, so I'm just really underlining it. And nobody, and it's just a vocabulary thing. In English we don't have these terms, these spiritual terms. In India, that's what I like about Sri Lanka and India. Like their language is like spiritual. Like they have all these words that have these connotations for like thousands of years, and here we have certain words that we can associate it to, but it's just different for us because it just doesn't mean the same thing. Anyways, and he says there was nobody to purify the offering. That's the classical rendering, but I like to think of it, there was nobody to elevate the gift, like spiritually, or to make it blameless, I guess, because it doesn't go to someone who's just purely given to satisfying the pleasure of the senses on and on and on. It's actually, they're developing their minds and they're living a life of morality, ethical behavior, and cultivating love, compassion, as basically as an ongoing practice all the time. So I think when we think about it like that, instead of being worthy and then like purifying things, I think it's more like making it go further to its, so that it can reach its full potential, of how useful that gift could be. Instead of, actually 5 years ago when I was first going for alms in downtown, and I was actually eating with all the homeless at many of the free food banks, and it was a very, obviously, you all know about this. I'm repeating myself, but it was a very profound experience, and it got me reflecting a lot about this, about what is offered and to who it is offered, and it is quite different to offer something to someone and then they're going to, use it to do, like, to buy substances, for example, for themselves, or to, maybe not invest it in the wisest ways. There should definitely be help for all of those people, and I think this is our duty as a society, definitely. And I think Nelson is so good for that. There's so many free food banks and popular soups, and there's places to go for sure. Although it's, for me anyways, I can feel it if I give something to someone. Of course, it makes me happy, whatever the case is, but there is definitely a distinction between giving something like money to someone who probably will do substances with it and use it in that sense, and then or support someone who is actually practicing virtues and loving kindness and sharing or just diffusing that energy around, which is whoever in the Sangha is practicing, or whoever the Sangha of lay or monastics practicing this. And so in that regard, I think we can see a quite clear distinction here in the impact that it would have, on, because yes, every human being should have food, shelter, clothing, medicine, for sure. And there's a difference between in what we do also. So there's a difference in when we support people who are practicing so much goodness, then we actually support goodness into the world further. That's just the way it is. That's just the way it works. And so the impact is just much bigger. That's the way that I understand this. Even if the Brahmin Velāma had only fed a single person graced with wise perspective, it would have been much more beneficial. And so here, I really like this transition, because we already started talking about it, but we are talking about pure material things that are, of course, everybody needs them. But I love that, it's like a two-page description of how many golden things that person gave, and silver bowls and golden bowls and all of that stuff. And there's just so much. And it's basically, it's like saying, even if Elon Musk would give all of his money to to all of this, it wouldn't actually be worth the same as just feeding. He's not saying give all of this to a stream enterer. He says all of that money would be a better investment to just feed one person graced with wise perspective. And this is Dhitthisampanno, so someone who is attained to the view of Dhamma. And this is another word for stream entry, and so that means somebody that understand the Dhamma to the extent that they have unwavering confidence in the teachings, like they understand it so well that for them it's a given that this is the path. This is the path to liberation. The view here, what do you think is the view? Or wise perspective, right view? The main one that has 4 parts of it. The Four Noble Truths, yes. And the Four Noble Truths are that there is problems, troublesomeness that we create. Its source is dissatisfaction, not being content. Attachments. Of course, the sensory attachments are foremost, and then deeper attachments come later. But and that is so pivotal. And then that there is an end to this. That there is a way that you can counteract that, and that's by letting go of that discontent, that dissatisfaction. In other words, craving. and that there's a path to do that. There's an actual quite clear path. And it's been on topic a few times lately, and this view is so precious. This view is so important, because we tend to get lost in the world. We associate with things, we get attached to things, and then when these things change, then we get destabilized emotionally, and Pandora's box literally opens. And this is how we create ourselves problems in life in general. And to remember that, and that is at the very root of that is actions, karma, kamma. Because all of this is saying that basically there is a way that we are doing this, and there's a way that we can stop doing this. And that is very pivotal to the whole right view or wise perspective. And it is life-affirming, it is life-giving, it is empowering, because for me, for example, a lot of people get lost in the destiny kind of thing, the destiny kind of perspective. Oh, it's just destiny, it's like I'm locked in, I can't change this. This is there free will? That was a question at the time of the Buddha, and it's still a question today. And I see that it might be a question asked. Yes, the question of free will, and it is a very relevant thing. And the Buddha's teaching is all about it's within your power, and it is your choice, and it is for you to take the steps. Is there a question or?
No, but there
Okay.
seems to be a little bit of a mix of two things. One is that there is a type of destiny that's based on karma.
Yes.
Karmic.
Yes. Yes.
And then there is free will at a very specific,
Yes.
small little moment in time.
Yeah. Yes, that is
And
correct.
so,
Yes.
Yeah, it's compatibility for them.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So we do have the opportunity to change things, and there is also a momentum of karma that is washing things away and through and going forward. And so, yes, that is true. In any case, the Buddha said, if it wasn't possible to change, I wouldn't be teaching this. So if it wasn't within our power to actually change that within ourselves, then there would be no point in me teaching this. And so, and he said, there is a way that you can do this, and that's why I am sharing it. And so understanding just that is so, for me, when I...
May I ask you?
Yes, Avinash.
Yes, good. Yeah, actually, it is not clear who this offer. I mean, who's getting this offering? Is this offered to people, or priest of that time, or both of them?
In the sutta, in the teaching?
Yes. This description, 84,000,
Yes.
all of this.
Mm-hmm. It's not mentioned, so that's why I said it looks like it was a kind of a festival or something where, a lot of people came and he just offered all of these things.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
what I understand.
Okay.
Great question, Avinash. Very, how to say, astute. I was looking for the other word, but percipient? Or no? Oops.
And can we assume then that there were no monastics at that time, because if there were even some monastics there, he would have mentioned that there was some benefit in giving.
Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm.
So did the suttas indicate that he started the monastic order, period? There was no monastics before that Buddha's incarnation? Because in the previous incarnation there were none?
Mm-hmm. So
We not know that.
yeah, that's a really good question, and that's exactly that's clarifies the whole scenario, I guess. It's basically he's talking about a past life of his, but he wasn't a Buddha, so obviously he was still, we would call a bodhisattva, and in that lifetime he was that Brahmin, Velāma, and there was no Buddha at that time, there was no Sangha. So so there, the opportunity, and that I think that's why he's saying that, because the opportunity, even though he was a very wealthy Brahmin with such amount of material possession, he said even though he gave that offering, it's always good to give. It's always good. I mean, that generosity, that act of generosity is huge, and it's for sure was a really good benefit for him. But the point is, he's saying that even though in that lifetime I did that, it would have been more meritorious, more valuable. I really like the word that you were suggesting. It would be more valuable to offer one meal to someone who's attained to view, or who has seen the Dhamma, literally a stream enterer. So that's why, that's the context here, and he's saying that's why it's like this opportunity here is much more special. I mean, we're just starting to get into that, so I mean, this is the generosity part, but that's not like the cherry on top of the cake is at the end, and so we
Can I ask a
yes.
question, which is not really the point of sutta, but the Brahmins often mentioned in suttas. Do they mean someone of a class? Is that what they're referring to?
Yes, that would be the Brahmin caste. There's
Caste, okay.
yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. They were, the Brahmins were the priests, the main holders of the hymns, the Vedas, and they were quite influential at the time of the Buddha. There were the Kshatriyas and the Brahmanas, which are the two competing castes for the top. And the Brahmins are the farming Vedic priests, and the Kshatriyas are the royal and the royals and the warrior caste. So they were often competing for the top of the hierarchy in India. So, and still are. And some Buddhas were from Brahmin families, and some Buddhas were from Kshatriya families. So this Gautama Buddha was from Kshatriya family, royal family, or warrior caste. And so basically all of this amount of material wealth is not even worth giving one meal to someone attained to view. Someone attained to view means they understand the Dhamma, they are settled, they are firm, rooted in the Dhamma, unwavering. They understand that the root of all of our problems is attachments and discontent, and they work at cultivating the opposite. Sympathetic joy, loving kindness, compassion, calm. And then we'll see a little bit more later. They follow a very virtuous, the guidelines of virtue, and to just to give to a person, and they're not perfect by any means. They still are prone to anger. They still are prone to wanting anything at the senses, to want enjoying, not just enjoying. There's a difference between enjoying and really needing. I don't know. Anything at the sensory level. They are not perfected people, but they are solidly anchored enough that they actually know the path and know the basic teachings and are applying them in their daily life. And so much more beneficial than feeding 100 people attain to the vision of Dhamma, it would be to feed a single once returner. So again, now the Buddha is, he likes to give these comparisons about just a value, not judgment, but just giving us a bit of a framework here. It's about 100 times more beneficial to feed someone who's a once returner is someone who will, I don't want to get into the big, attainment discussion here, but someone who's done the work on their heart and mind enough that they've reduced anger and sensory wanting a lot. So the thing is that when we do that, we reduce our attachments to all these things, and what happens when we reduce the attachment is that the mind and heart cannot be shaken that easily, because it doesn't have anything to shake it with. It's just if I, like, the most precious, valuable possession in my life is this orange lighter, and then it's so precious. It was given to me by some very, very famous person, and I think about it every day, and I really like it, and it's like a very prized possession in my life. And then somebody takes it away, and I just lose my mind. That my mind is dependent on an object, an external thing, and it's attached to it. And what it does is that when we're separated from it, then we have grief or sorrow or sadness. This is a very bad example, but I think we all get the gist of it. And so when we reduce the attachment level, then wanting and anger or impatience, it has less fuel for growing. And so the Buddha is basically saying that here, to support, to just give a meal to one person like that who's brought not only are they unshakable on the path, but they've practiced it to the extent that they've diminished those, we call them fetters, then it's a lot more beneficial. Much more beneficial than feeding 100 once returner, it would be to feed a single non-returner. So someone who is completely done with sensory gratification, or of course, we were talking about there's a difference between liking and craving, and there's a part in the brain, Sarah was saying, there's a part in the brain that is responsible for the difference between liking and craving and like wanting something. And that, I think that's something we really need to be aware, that pleasant or unpleasant experiences will happen, and they're still pleasant or unpleasant. I mean, eating some good food is certainly going to be pleasant, enjoyable, and hitting your head on, something hard and painful is going to be an unpleasant situation. But the way that we react to it, that's where all the difference is. And so someone who is done with sensory, just really strong desires, and done with anger, in both cases their mind will just be, yeah, that's just the way it is. This is just body contact sensation. That's what it is. It's pleasant, it's unpleasant. What do you want me to do about it? There's nothing I can do about it. It's just the way it is. So, and like I was saying on last retreat, there's the difference between perception, which is just as it is, perception, and then conceptualization, which comes, we build on top of that, perception. So perception is just perception. It's just the way it is. And so to feed someone that has done, and this is quite a profound level to find yourself on this path. It's not easy to get there, but it is possible, and it is much more beneficial to feed a person like that, one person. Much more beneficial than feeding 100 non-returner would be to feed a single arahant, so someone who's fully awake. I'm not going to go into the whole fetters thing, but someone who's just literally nothing can really shake their minds. They are not attached to even higher rebirths into any kind of realms, and which correlates to even the finest levels of meditation that we can experience. So even in jhana, they're not attached to any of that. They're just, see, the anagami was more like it's still in the world, and then the arahant is even the higher mind. They're not attached to even that part. So much more beneficial than feeding 100 arahants, it would be to feed a single solitary Buddha. So that's a Pacceka Buddha. Those are a bit different. Those are the Buddhas that come out of the blue and they just know enough of Dhamma to break through to awakening by themselves, but they can't teach it. So that's why they're called solitary Buddhas. And they don't usually it's great. It's very, somebody has to have a lot of goodness to break to that understanding by themselves. But they're not able to actually make it even more known and share it. So it's limited. Much more beneficial than feeding 100 solitary Buddhas, it would be to feed the truth finder, the arahant, perfectly all awakened Buddha. And so, just as I said, it's the same thing, but that kind of Buddha has understood the whole Dhamma, the whole picture, and they can actually dispense it, give it to others quite clearly. Much more beneficial than feeding a perfectly all-awakened Buddha, it would be to feed the Sangha of monks, the Sangha headed by the Buddha. So feeding the whole Sangha and with the Buddha at its head is much more beneficial. I think that's, I can 1 + 1. Much more beneficial than feeding the Sangha headed by the Buddha. It would be to build a monastery dedicated to the Sangha of the 4 directions, the 4 quarters. And so just to give a dwelling place for the Sangha to live, to continue their practice, to generate that field of goodness in the world. I always like that, the Sangha of the 4 directions. I really like it just means like everybody. I mean, at the time of the Buddha, there was a lot less. There was only one Buddhism. Now there's a lot, so it's a bit more complicated. There's a lot of different ways of practicing it within Buddhism. It's such a big ocean of different teachings. But anyways, I just like the idea. Much more beneficial than to build a vihara dedicated to the Sangha, it would be to go for refuge to the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha with a confident mind. So now we're transitioning, see how it's moving from, see, all of this material wealth is not even worth feeding one person that is practicing this in terms of value, in terms of the impact that it has. But now we're leaving the sphere of generosity, and yeah, it's really meritorious to give all these things, and yeah, great, amazing. But if you were to actually hear the teachings, and here this is the distinction that I like to make, it's not just reciting words, I go to the Buddha as a refuge, I go to the Dhamma as a refuge, I go to the Sangha as a refuge. It's actually feeling it in your heart. The Buddha actually says here, he uses the word pasanna citta, which is with a confident mind, with a clear mind, with a mind that understands. So it's not just reciting words. This just means basically you hear the Dhamma, it resonates, it makes sense, and you're thinking, yeah, I go to refuge, like for real. For real, I go to refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, not just because I'm repeating words, but I feel it in my heart. That's, for me, that's the way that this can be more meritorious than the rest, because if it's just repeating words, it's not, doesn't mean anything. Okay, much more beneficial than to go for refuge to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha with a confident mind, it would be to undertake the training in virtue with a confident mind. So that's the 5 virtues, obviously. Refraining from hurting living beings, refraining from taking what is not given, refraining from sexual misbehavior, refraining from speaking lies, refraining from mind-altering substances. And so again, we're going a little bit further, and it's not just, okay, I think this is really good stuff, the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. And it's like, okay, now let's bring it a little bit further. Let's say, okay, I'm gonna, basically the beginning of the training, we had the right view earlier. Attachments is and discontent is the root of all states that cause problems within us. Well, the 5 virtues address the coarsest level that those actions can go. And so when we say, okay, no, I'm not going to go there, then it creates this this protection that at least the mind is not going to go to that point. And because to do these things, there needs to be quite a lot of mindlessness, or of lack of care, or lack of wholesome states. So the Buddha is saying, if you don't do these things, then you won't go that far into the dark side. So that's already a much better. Now we're going from, okay, I feel it in my heart, but I have to practice it too. So okay, let's start practicing it. Much more beneficial than to undertake the virtues with a confident mind, it would be to develop a heart and mind of love, even just for the time it takes to milk a cow. And so I don't know if any of you have milked a cow before. Just about that time. I would say about in between 5 to 10 minutes, depending how good you are. But again, we are moving into this place that I really like. How we're talking about all this generosity is great, and like if you support all this, and it's amazing, you're doing so good. But even more than that, by far more beneficial is actually if you take on the training yourself and start changing. And so that's why I love this sutta. And that here, this is the subject that comes before the last one. So we're pretty close to the most meritorious thing that we could do. So to develop a heart and mind of love, of metta, is actually very, very, very high, even for the time it takes to milk a cow. So, when we go on retreats, people spend days, just cultivating that. And there's a shift, at the end of the retreats, you can feel that there's a field that's built up around the group. There's a field that's built up around people, and I'm in touch with a lot of meditators afterwards, and they're saying oh yeah, this and this happened, or it's really funny sometimes. Oh, this opportunity just showed up, and it never was expected, or something like that. And it's, for me, when I was reading that, I thought it was really beautiful, because it was giving the power back to, the most meritorious thing is what is actually meditation. Literally, that's what it is. And if you develop that, you're sure that actually you are practicing, at the core of what is most fruitful for yourself. And so that's always how I felt about meditation, but it was really amazing to have the Buddha just say it in his own words here. Here, this is actually the best you can do in terms of making merit. Yeah. Yes, okay.
You're referring to the cultivation of loving kindness within meditation, but could that not also mean responding to daily life events with loving kindness? It's not just informal meditation.
Yeah, of course, not just informal meditation.
Just to be clear.
Yeah. I mean, the Buddha himself used the word bhavana. So bhavana is translated as meditation or development, and they're both quite different. I think you know this, and I think there's levels. I guess it's I really like the analogy that it's like computers, they have parallel processing and serial processing. It's like how intense can one task be? That's one way of processing things, and how many tasks in one moment you can do at once. And so those are two different ways that computers work with data and information. And I think it's kind of like the same thing. Meditation really brings you deep, and really there's a way of practicing metta that can go really deep and bring you in amazing meditation states. And there's also a way of practicing metta in everything that you do. So that's the two ways, I guess. I mean, this is just an analogy that never heard before.
I just wanted to mention it because if you say it's just bhavana as meditation,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's underlying that.
Yeah.
It's more than that.
Well, yeah, it's more than that. I don't know if I have the notes on this. Finger snap 588.5. Metta chittang bhavaya. Yeah, so just who would cultivate, develop a mind of love, or mind of loving kindness, however you want to translate this, but metta chittang bhavaya. yeah. And again, I think it's to develop loving kindness is, yeah, it's a big spectrum of skills and also meditation. But yeah, they both inform one another, I think, and strengthen one another. And now the cherry on top of the cake. And thus, Anathapindika, much more valuable than all of this, it would be to cultivate an unabiding mind, even just for the time of a finger snap, or the perception of transience or impermanence, anicca sanya. So I said meditation just because it's not actually explicitly said in here, and sometimes, especially nowadays, in Buddhist countries, it's overlooked. Meditation is greatly overlooked, so that's why it's a pleasure of mine to put it back on the map, because otherwise we don't. And this is clearly kind of what he's saying. Bhavaya is like bhavana, so it's that development, of course. And like he is saying here, anicca sanya, but it's not just impermanence. This is kind of like the culmination of wisdom, really, to see that all things are just impermanent. In a way, I like how simple it is, and also I feel like it's just, he puts it simply here, but it means a lot more than just this, it's and so really we talked about the view, the noble view, the view of the awakened ones, that those attachments, what we cling to, this is creating friction, problem, and tension in our lives. But when we don't have that, we're not holding, and I've talked about it many times, but when we're not holding, the only thing that we know is the flow, because nothing is stopping, nothing is actually breaking. There is no dam in the river of experience, and so everything is just allowed and seen, and not even, it doesn't have to be let go if it doesn't arise, but if it arises, it can be let go. And when we let go of an attachment, what we see is that there's a release, and we stop fixating onto a problem or a thing, and then we merge back into, it's all moving, it's all going, it's all the flow of experiences. There's nothing clung to at any of the senses, and even the mind, which is beautiful. Like I was telling my little experience walking on Fisherman's Road and just in my mind I was saying that awareness of the body is a lot where I stand, I guess, or where I am present. And so being aware of the body, and anytime there's a kind of a tension or a strange movement in the body that is not usually there, then there's a reasoning, what am I attached to? Or like, why is that like that? And what is kind of disrupting that normal just flow of, I'm not really thinking, I'm just doing whatever I need to do. And then the voice coming from who knows, just an understanding that arises that says, it's not in this world. It's not, stop looking in your body, stop looking in the world. Hands off, I'm trying to understand something, that if I just remember that Nibbana is not in this world, and it's not something that I can that I always have control on or anything, then what happens when you stop trying to manipulate or control or try to change things, is that there's only just, the senses are arising and they're passing, the perception, the five aggregates, the six senses, however you want to see it, is just arising, passing away, rising, passing away. There's no clinging to any aspects of it. And so this can also be understood as kind of like the fruit of why we meditate, the fruit of why we continually polish our minds to actually let go all the time, let go, and so that we can carry that into everything that we do. And it's an art, it's a craft, it's not easy, and it's something that we have to own, and but it's definitely leading there. And anicca sanya, unabiding mind, the mind is not abiding onto anything. It's not latching on to anything. It's not to any aspects. And so there's that beautiful freedom. And this is kind of the culmination of discernment, of wisdom, of meditation, and this whole path. And this is the cherry. This is where all the juice, all the goodness culminates. And so usually I say, now that you know what's the most important, I mean, loving kindness, like metta, and transience, the anicca sanya, like, they're both at the top. So if you practice both, usually I think you should be fine. Yeah. You go strong, Don't waste your time too much in the other things. Understand it's all really nice, but this is where all the good stuff is. So loving kindness, and then not holding, not clinging. The Buddha also used that term, like anicca sanya is one way to sing it, but the liberation of mind through not clinging, that's another way that he had to explain that. Not clinging, letting go. So two aspects of bhavana. And well, I just want to circle around and finish, because I don't want to, one of my friend monks said, yeah, that's really true, but keep feeding me, please. Which I thought was like pretty good. Yes, that's true. So because I've been alluding to that teaching a few times, and I just go, just practice metta, and I just practice, and just don't waste your time on anything else. And then I'm like, yeah, right. So I wanna circle back around and just say that this is all part of this ecosystem of goodness that arises, and this is when we say we're supporting even the stream enterer and all that, they're just giving one meal. The reason why it's so meritorious is that because of that whole loop, because of we're supporting all that comes above, because that's what they're practicing too. And so support and generosity come like this, it allows all of this to take place even. So it's not to undermine, and I never want my friend monks to be starving. But and so I think that's why it's so meritorious to take part in this, and it's so beautiful in so many ways for me to let go of the things that I had when I was starting to move towards monastic life. And just actually in Nelson, I was getting rid of all my tools and giving away most of my stuff, and it was quite good stuff, like outdoors, outdoor gear. I was outdoor guide, so I had a lot of outdoor gear and woodworking stuff, and just to give it away to people and to see how happy they were, because that's the meaningful aspect of it, is People came because they really wanted what I was giving away, and just to have that connection was so much more meaningful, that they actually wanted it. It was useful to them, and it made me so happy. And so for me, it's so clear that giving is also part of, anicca sanya also, because we're just, not holding on to things. Now, I'm not giving a talk on generosity. You should give everything to the Sangha, blah blah blah. I just for the pure pleasure of giving, whatever it is, I just think there's a lot of goodness to be taken there too, also. And remember also where the most meritorious actions are for you, for yourself also. Really, it's the practice. That's what it comes down to. For me, I've been using that teaching as a template in my life, as in my practice, and it served me well, I think. And so I like to share it because it's beautiful and it's meaningful. It gives kind of the bearing. All these things are great, but here's the this is the best. And so we can actually remember what matters most. So I wish you all the best. Very nice to see your lovely faces. And I'll see you in a month.